I want to be smaller, like a dust particle which moves with the wind. It goes everywhere, can go sit on the head of a king, or can go and fall at the feet of someone. And it can go and sit everywhere. But I want to be a particle of dust that is fragrant, that is nourishing, that is enlightening.
म्हणजे आमचे आजोबा ओळखत होते. म्हणजे आम्ही असं एक दिवस भेटलो आहे, म्हणजे एकदा रमण बागेत तेव्हा बघितलं. म्हणजे प्रवचन होतं त्यांचं, तेव्हा भेटलो एकदा. आमचे आजोबा पांडुरंग झोरे, ते त्यांचे म्हणजे रोज पूजा करायचे, नंतर पाण्यात पाय सोडून ते कुंडले जागृत करतात ना तसं करायचे. आणि मग सेंटर असे त्यांचे असतात ना केंद्र, तिथं जायचे. बाकीचे लोक कोण नाही, फक्त ते एकटेच करायचे. म्हणजे फोटो आहे, पुसतो आम्ही, पण असं ते कुंडली जागृत वगैरे करणं, सेंटरला जाणं असं करत नाही. फोटोची पूजा वगैरे करतो, पण सेंटरला वगैरे जात नाही. असे कोण ना, फक्त आजोबाच करायचे. आम्ही फोटो पुसतो, पण असे सेंटरला वगैरे जात नाही. एका टपामध्ये पाणी घ्यायचे, गरम पाणी, त्यामध्ये थोडं मीठ टाकायचं आणि पाय सोडून बसायचे आणि हाताद्वारे असं करून ते काहीतरी करायचे. निर्मला देवींचं नाव घेत असतात, निर्मला देवी म्हणून असं म्हणतात.
त्यांना मारते ना, मारू देत काय.
परम पूज्य श्री माता जी निर्मला देवी जी का रत्नागिरी रेलवे स्टेशन में प्रेम पूर्वक स्वागत करते हैं. रत्नागिरी स्थानकात परम पूज्य निर्मला देवी भक्तांचे कोकण हार्दिक स्वागत. रत्नागिरी स्थानकामध्ये परमपूज्य निर्मला देवी भक्तांचे कोकण रेल्वेतर्फे हार्दिक स्वागत.
गाडी अशी लागली नाही फिरणार नाही फिरेगी डायरेक्ट उतरताना लागली गाडी मोठी आहे ना माझी
Shrimataji found this place called Ganpati Pule about 18 or 19 years ago. And there is a very holy temple of Sri Ganesha, who is the main deity that's worshipped in Maharashtra. And she said, look, we'll all go over there. And we were not many. I think we were barely a couple of hundred people. And she told me, we'll go over here, and I think you'll find that everybody will go very deep. And that was true. We came over here the very first time, and we had 6 or 7 days of programs. We were at the nearby village. And this has now grown year after year, wherein many more people come. Now you have 8,000 people. And the idea is to bring people together to meditate, but most of all for people to have some proximity to Shrimataji.
I am immensely joyous to see all of you here. The words get lost. They have no meaning. So many of you aspiring to ascend to that state where you would have complete joy, bliss and peace. In this country, we had a struggle of freedom. I was part and parcel of that. My parents were part and parcel of that. They were rich people, quite rich, I should say, from every standard. You'll be amazed, my father burnt all his suits. They were stitched in England. My mother burnt all her saris. They used to spin their own clothes and wear them. I had only one coat throughout my education. When I was in Lahore, which is terribly cold, sometimes can be like London. But we never grudged and never grumbled and never said that our father should have looked after us and done something. Why did he just sacrifice everything for the country? Never, never, never. That quality was created, I should say, by Mahatma Gandhi He made everybody so transformed into a new personality. All the money that we had, everything that we had, all conveniences, all housing, everything was given up. Not only by my father, but so many of them. Otherwise, we could not have got our freedom. To get our freedom, this country has sacrificed so much. I must say Gandhiji had a special charm. I don't know how he managed. He was like touch of Midas, touched anybody, he became transformed. And he was an extremely strict man, very kind to me, to children. But he was an extremely strict man. He would not tolerate any nonsense at all. Throughout, if you study the way all these people were brought up, not only for freedom of or independence, but even before that, for spiritual life, anywhere, there's one thing very common is sacrifice. And the consciousness that you are doing something great. Consciousness that you are part and parcel of the whole. I've seen it with my own eyes. Such people in this country, whom you may call legendary, but I've seen it. Thousands of people were killed and butchered. Children died. Nobody shed tears. Nobody shed tears. Now, after that, we are here to get our freedom. To get the freedom for our spirit. To make our spirit free from our greed, lust, from your anger, from our conditionings, from our terrible ego.
হেমুর চিত্ত পূর্ণ তীর্থে জাগরে ধীরে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে এসো এসো আজ তুমি ইংরাজ এসো এসো খ্রিস্টান এসো ব্রাহ্মণ সূচি করি মন ধরো হাত সবাকা এই ভারতে মহামানবের সাগর তীরে
We can see from one point of view that human beings are created as human beings. And they have mental, emotional, all these sides. Now they are guided by their emotional side, maybe mental side, also depending on the birth and all that. So they are bound by all these things. We have within us a power, I call it as Kundalini, which is kept in the triangular bone, which is sleeping there. So when you awaken that Kundalini, she passes through these various aspects of her life and she enlightens them. Not only enlightens them, but she binds them and makes them one. That is where we become above all these things and we become ourselves. This is I discovered long time back. But to put it into somebody's head is very difficult. But when it started working out, they would ask me how it has worked, how it has happened, what has happened. Then I could explain to them.
We may have many concepts about our religion or caste or race, but these are only concepts. Every human being has within him the desire to want to be one with God. That desire, if it is strong enough, it will be fulfilled. And in her presence, that desire can actually manifest itself. You do get connected, you feel the vibrations, you feel the silence, deep silence within, which is the thoughtless awareness. Then of course how they take it forward is left to them. It is an individual's own sense of responsibility and the strength of his or her own desire to take it forward. India is blessed by people who believe that there is God and one has to be surrendered to God and one has to try to get closeness to God. But that's what it is. The rest of it is that we are divided into many, many castes, many, many religions, many sects, and much ritualism. And when you break out of that, and we realize that we are all people who are born from this earth of India and that we can all achieve a sense of realization and can get close to a sense of God, then it will change the way Indians also work with each other. I was very lucky that I was able to meet with Shri Mataji when I was about 18 years old. And she was staying in Bombay, and she was at that time the wife of the chairman of the Shipping Corporation of India. My mother knew her, so we went over to her home, and my mother said, "Here is a special person, and you'll feel good if you meet her." There were not that many people. There were a few people in Bombay. They'd meet for meditation. In fact, when they met for meditation, Shri Mataji herself would be there, sitting in front of everybody. But it took a few years after that to fully realize the power of the vibrations.
19 तारीख क्या इंग्लिश में बोलना
19 मार्च
19 मार्च
1970
1972 हम गए थे आबू में रजनीश के शिविर में। तो उसमें से वो लेडीज मुझे मिल गई तो उन्होंने माता जी का एड्रेस वगैरह लिख दिया ना। तो वो ऐसी बात करते बात कि आपका वो सब अंदर थे ना, कूदते थे, नाचते। तो मैं बाजू में खड़ी थी, आप कैसे, आपको इसमें इंटरेस्ट? मैंने बोला मेरे कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं उसमें। तो फिर उन्होंने बोला कि मैं आपको एक एड्रेस बताऊँ, एक निर्मला श्रीवास्तव करके है बॉम्बे में। तो उन्होंने किसके पास से कागज़ दिया, किसके पास से पेंसिल, मेरे को एड्रेस लिख दिया जीवन ज्योत का। फिर वो सब कर मैं तो गए अंबाजी। फिर अंबाजी गए तो हम तो अंबाजी में रहते थे 4-5 दिन। फिर अंदर मंदिर में जब पूजा करते थे वगैरह, तो माता वो अम्बाजी माँ को प्रार्थना कर बोला माँ ये जगह में जाओ। तो माता जी ने जैसे बोला कि मेरा ही वो स्वरूप है, मैं ही हूँ। फर्स्ट फ्लोर पर ही माता जी का घर था, पर हम सेकंड फ्लोर पर चढ़ गए। तो मैं उतरती थी, माता जी ने दरवाज़ा खोला और बाहर आके बोले आप मेरे को ढूंढ रही हो? मैं नीचे आई तो माता जी ने मेरे को ऐसा हाथ लगा के अंदर ले गई, ऐसे कोट पर बैठाया। फिर वो चिट्ठी माता जी को बताई तो बहुत अच्छा है बोले। फिर मेरे को यहाँ देखे कि ठीक है तुम्हारा सब अच्छा है, पर मैं अभी चालू नहीं किया है जो मेरे को करना है। बोले मेरी लड़की को अभी 9वां महीना है, उसको डिलीवरी हो जाएंगी, वो 1.25 महीना के बाद मैं ये चालू करूँगी। तो फिर वो आराधना की डिलीवरी हुई ना, कल्पना की। बाद में 1.25 महीना के बाद जनवरी महीना में माता जी ने शिविर लिया था बोर्डी में। फिर वहाँ बुलाया, वो मेरे को लेटर आया तो मैं आ गई। तो जहाँ माता जी बैठती थी, माता जी हम दूर से बैठते थे, तो सब लोग बोले ऊपर चलो, मैं पीछे पीछे बोले चलो, नहीं बोलेंगे तो वापस आ जाएंगी। तो पीछे पीछे गई ऊपर। पहले वो जवेरी को दिया वाइब्रेशन, और ऐसे ऊपर चढ़ाती थी, ऐसे सब करके जागृति। फिर उन्होंने बोला ये उनको भी दो। थोड़े वाइब्रेशन नहीं आता मालूम होता था, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ अच्छा लगा अंदर से। फिर वो चंदू भाई जो वो लोग भी ऐसे ऐसे देखते थे, करते थे, बोले हो गए ऐसे।
When I started raising their kundalini, first only 2 people got it. Gradually. Then so many people got this. So they said, we too want to have this within us. So can you give us? I said, I'll try. I don't know. So we thought we should go into a place which is away from the city. So we were about 25 people. I think 6 or 7 people got their realization. So they told us that we are feeling the cool breeze in our hand and also the cool breeze coming out of Fontanelle bone area. So I said, that's it. Now you have to grow in it. You have to watch. With a witness state, you should find out what has happened to you. I must say those days people were very, very genuine. They wanted. It was not just a stunt. And so, altogether out of 25, 21 got this.
the cool breeze that is normally subjectively felt with the Kundalini awakening, it was objectively recorded. Very fine instruments were used to record the palmar skin temperature. And it was found that there was about 1 degree centigrade drop in the skin temperature. The knowledge about this subtle system, that is the Kundalini, about the 7 chakras and about these 3 energy channels, all this is described in Yoga Sutra. What Sri Mataji has given to us, she has described how each energy centers, they are controlling different organs of our body. Any disease is because of some imbalance in these energy centers. The correction can be effected only with the Kundalini awakening. And if it gets awakened, it rises up through this center channel. It pierces this 6th energy center, which is called the Agnya, and it goes up on the Sahasrara, and it goes and unites with the cosmic energy. When this union of your own divine energy with the cosmic energy takes place, then yoga is said to have occurred. Normally, a person cannot stop his or her thoughts, but when the Kundalini gets awakened, then a person is put into a thoughtless state, and finally it goes up to the Sahasrara and a person is feeling the cool breeze. As many diseases are having stress as a major etiological factor, that being cut out, plus the vibrations going to the energy centers and giving the vibrations themselves being regenerating and nourishing, they do the healing. Sri Mataji has initiated work of Sahaja Yoga using the medical side, in the sense that curing of people has been an attractive point for world at large. So you can say that the cure being effected in Sahaja Yoga is a byproduct of this Kundalini awakening. It is a spiritual experience which a person gains. But humans, we are all not coming for the spiritual aspect. We may be coming with medical complaints, but reaping the benefit is the spiritual ascent that a person achieves.
Please remove the guilt from me.
I had a hand for curing people, and I had a liking for medical studies also. So, despite all other problems, I thought best is to do medicine. But suddenly my college was closed in 42. Moreover, my father was in jail. So we didn't have sufficient money also. My mother would sell her ornaments to get the money for education. So when my college was closed, my mother said, "No, stop. We can't afford to wait." That's how I then got married. Then I started going to different people supposed to be preaching about spirituality, talking about spirituality. But what I found, they themselves were not spiritual. Very greedy, trying to want everything, running after women. I said, what sort of things these are? If they are like this, what are they going to teach me? So I gave up hopes. Then I started searching myself within myself. Then one day in a forest I was with lots of people who were seeking. And I went near the big talab ko kya kehte?
The sea.
Talab. And there I was sitting. And suddenly a light came into me. And I saw it clearly that I am a satisfied soul. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. And that is the time when I saw few things happening. I felt later on, about 8 days later, that there is this power of Kundalini which rises within me and which pierces through the fontanel. And all that, which is not a common experience. So I said, this can happen to everyone. You see, many boys also started coming, ladies also coming from the West to my group. Then my husband got a job in England, so I went with him and I started working with the English. It's worked.
We were just in our first year of London life, and we had taken up a house out in the rural area. When I came in the evening, I went to my living room, as I saw, drawing room, and there I saw a young white boy sitting comfortably in the sofa and reading a paper, newspaper. So I said, who is this fellow? Who is he? And he looked at me as if I was an intruder. I went to her and I said, now, do I see what I see? Because I said, I have seen a young man sitting there wearing my clothes, my kurta and my pajama. I said, there is something wrong with me. So she said, no, there's nothing wrong with you. I'll tell you what has happened. And then she explained that she had gone to London. This is what had happened. And so she felt she could help him, brought him home, and he was dirty, so he had to be given a wash. So I was a little relieved. I thought I had gone out of my mind. I said, well, very good. That I began to understand the depth of her feelings, her vision.
It all worked out. My husband should get a job in England, that I should go with him there. There I meet people of that kind. It's a fragrance of spirituality which spreads.
See, in the West at that time, from India, there had been many so-called gurus. Now, when I went to America, I found that all of these people had a great big following out there. They were on television. They were treated as this sort of something really extraordinary that has come from India. But I felt that the seekers were real. I was in California, and you know that in California is where this whole sense of wanting to find ways and means as to how do you break out of the existing mold and get something else in life. So I met many people, and Gregor was one such person. He was actually traveling in California, and I could see that he was a very great seeker, but he didn't know. And we spent some time together, and then I just said, look, I know that you're looking for something. I can't do anything for you, but there is somebody, and we in India think that she is the incarnation of Mary, the mother of Jesus, or Radha herself, Radhaji herself, and she lives there in London just now. She can help you. And I was so surprised. The very next day he left and went to England, and he went and telephoned and went and met Shri Mataji. So many years later I asked Gregor, what happened? I mean, if someone just tells you something, do you just go 10,000 miles away, or how does it go? So he said, no, before I came to meet you, every night I would be having a vision, or I'd have a sense that something is going to happen. I know that something is going to happen to me. And then when you told me, I knew that was the truth, so I just went.
One of them was Gregor, who came. So I told him, you can go to London and there, London city. We have some people there who are spiritually very alert. So he said, all right. He went and bought a bow for himself and a shirt for himself. I said, no, be simple, they are simple people. He thought he should wear a bow. Then he went and put the bow on and everything. And Gregor came up and he saw, peeped in, that everybody was very simply dressed. So went down running, took out his bow and everything, and wore a simple dress and came up. I didn't get realization that day. Afterwards he got it. He was very argumentative from the very beginning, overly read and all that. But gradually he came around. And I knew Gregor now.
I met her in August 1975. And when I came to Sri Mataji, I was the child of my generation. And then, with this sort of very permissive lifestyle that we had, our generation, then when you come to someone like Sri Mataji, who is purity herself, and all your chakras are basically in jeopardy, all your chakras are more or less broken. And it's really hard because visibly, Sri Mataji was working on me, and then she was going and vomit in the bathroom next minute, because my system was really damaged by the lifestyle, which was basically the lifestyle of a kid of my generation. But when she came and she told me what she was here for, what she had come for, what she was going to give mankind, what she was giving mankind already, then that was making the whole thing meaningful, the whole course of history. Then I was like, I don't know how you say this in English, écrasé. I was like stunned by the magnitude of it all, because just imagine that suddenly you get a big secret, and you know that this is what everybody needs, and then what do? When you look around yourself, there were maybe 7 or 8 people, who were following Sri Mataji. So here she is, you have 7 people around you. It is what the world needs, and what do? That was sort of overwhelming.
शर्मदायिनी देवी माँ शर्मदायिनी देवी माँ सहस्रार स्वामिनी देवी माँ सहस्रार स्वामिनी देवी.
She travels along with me to many countries, and you would find it very difficult to believe. Wherever she went, they probably recognize her a little more than they would recognize me. I was the official. Then, she began to travel on her own, went to different places, different countries. And what appeals to me most in Sahaja Yoga is that it brings about a genuine inner transformation. It is not just talking, it's something from inside.
So we started organizing gradually public program, mostly in Caxton Hall in England, and that were the heroic times. She was coming, she was, staying after the program, giving realization to everybody, working on everybody, talking with everybody about their own private sort of issues, problems. And so I think England was definitely the place where all this was taking place for long. Then some of the people where they went in the country, and that's the way it started. And then little by little they started there. And I went back to my country. I believe, I'm not sure, I think I did the first public program without Sri Mataji in Lausanne in Switzerland. And and some people got the realization. I mean, of course, in the beginning you don't know whether it's going to work or not. So it's ein bisschen spannend.
You are your own master, no doubt, but you have to be made into it. Unless and until you are connected to the means through this, unless and until you are baptized, you are not your spirit. Now the spirit resides in your heart. Nobody knows, you see. He resides in your heart. But you are not aware of it. When the Kundalini passes through these various centers and pierces through this one, then the seed of the spirit is here. If it doesn't work, we'll work it out later.
और लेफ्ट हैंड से देखिए कि सर में कहीं ठंडी ठंडी हवा तो नहीं आ रही, सर से ऊपर, सर से ऊपर.
You see, the world is ready for it. That's how. Otherwise, it would not have happened about, say, 20 years back, I think. Now the time has come. It's a new awareness which is coming. You see, it is, I think it is a system where you are ready for something, you get it. People are seeking, no doubt. I didn't know they were seeking so much. I didn't expect also. But when I saw so many people, I was amazed.
आ रही ठंडी बहुत बड़ी बात है आप लोगों को, इतने लोगों के हाथ में ठंडा. सबको अनंत आशीर्वाद है हमारा.
She used to travel so much. I mean, that was the time when I was not so much with her because I was in my home and she was in Europe, and she used to Bulgaria, Romania, I'm hearing she's here, there. She went to South America. How she managed, I tell you, I can't tell you this. Lately, I was traveling more with her. We went to Dubai, and while leaving the leader of the Dubai collective, sitting like this, very quiet. I said, so what happened? I said, Didi, now that mother is going out of my hands, I'm feeling sad. So I told that to somebody else who was also like this, feeling sad because she was leaving from another place. I said, this is like a cycle, and mother leaves and departs, and the people behind are feeling sad, and mother is sad too, to say bye. And then she's getting ready to arrive with a lot of smiling faces waiting for her. She goes from there to there. Everybody asked me this, that how could you, as a mother share her? And of course, you're as a child, you want your mother all the time. It's natural. But then she timed it as such when I think I was engaged to be married already when it was 1970, right? That is the date. So I was already engaged to be married. My sister was already married. So as they say, her worldly duties were kind of over.
I never found it very different, except, when I saw her posters all over. And I said, oh my God. So she became renowned all over the world. But to me, always a mother.
Oh, she was a strong mother, very strong, and she was very keen on, you being correct and right and very dharmic. That emphasis was very strong, that you must never do anything wrong. And it was easier in those days because I think dishonesty was not at all a common thing. So you had to live within your budget. So automatically you became a kind of person, and your attention did not go on to many luxuries. Also, we did not have consumerism in those days. I mean, we lived simply. The majority of people were of the same type of thinking. It was not so difficult. You didn't have peer pressure. Most of the girls were being brought up well, Also, I don't think there was that much of conflict in generations. It was more flowing, The family used to flow well.
My father was a brilliant man. He was leader of the people who were fighting the British. Very learned man. He went to jail many a times. Last time when he went after 1942 movement, it was for 3 years regularly he was in jail. But there was one fellow who was a friend of my father. He came and told my mother that you must apologize because we don't want your husband to be in jail. He has so many children and this and that. My mother said, I can't do that. His will. He wants to go to jail. He has to go. Like that, you see, we have glimpses of very ideal type of people during that time. They didn't think of money, their properties, nothing. So sacrifice was immense. Nowadays we can't even think of such a thing. But I did feel that the English should leave our country. They have no right to be there. So I did feel that somebody has to tell them that this is wrong. So I had a great sense of right and wrong. But I didn't know it was spirituality. It was an innate quality in me. But most of the people in those days were like that in India, because the urge of freedom was so great, and that people were fighting for freedom. So they could not think of all those things. Once I had to speak when I was 7 years of age for Mahatma Gandhi's fasting, and I spoke to thousands of people. I was a little girl. And I told them how we should forget about caste system and how we should marry each other. I was such a little girl at 7 years.
She would love to get people married. She enjoyed this job very much. And in the little that we had, she would try to get the best. Nephews were difficult, confirmed bachelors. They just got married because of her effort.
First to the bridegroom, bride to the bridegroom. Volunteers please take the
The mistake we do when we look for a partner, we look for affinities. Because, same taste, same, and that doesn't always work. What we need to look for is complementarity. And complementarity we can't identify because it's hidden. So, in a sense, sometimes when mother advises us, she knows what we can't see. She knows complementarity that can work between us. But very frankly, my wife is telling me that she would have run away from me anytime, any day before Sahaja Yoga, because I was this sort of loud chap that she would say, oh, keep away from this guy. And I can't say that I would have just zoomed on her. I mean, and yet, mother suggested her first, because the girl is the first one to make the decision. And then once she said yes, I said yes, and yeah, it worked. The man is like the sea, and the woman is like the earth. And it's a sort of give and take where there is no repetition. Sri Mataji says that it's like the two wheels of a chariot. They are equal, but they are at two different positions. So you need the two wheels to be equal for the chariot to go straight. If one wheel is larger than the other one, the chariot goes round and round.
When my elder daughter got married, she'd organized the whole thing. So this year when my younger daughter got married and she couldn't be here to organize everything with me, I found it rather strange that I really had to do some work.
In Sanskrit, they say the events of life are called samskaras. They are called samskaras. So you have special pujas and ceremonies for certain episodes in your life.
You see, the thing is, in our country in those days, there was no choice, nothing. Whatever parents said, you had to listen. So according to the choice of my parents, they selected him. He was a friend of my brother. And my brother said he's a very nice person, this, that. So they married me to him. That's what it is.
I met her first in 1946 and found her to be a very different person, different from young ladies of her age. A person who came from the background of patriotism. And there was some aura about her. I didn't quite understand at that time what was coming, but she was different.
Now I find we have another kind of slavery, a slavery of selfishness. self-oriented. This is my comfort, I must have this, it should be enjoyable, I'm enjoying, I'm this, I'm that. So rise now. You must rise above your petty, small mind.
आप कृपया बैठ जाइए।
Today is a great day because we are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. He was such a great spiritual personality who had to suffer on the cross. This is what many people don't understand, that why a man of his caliber, of his standing, of his spirituality should have to go through so many ordeals in life. He did not feel the pain. On the contrary, he went through all that ordeal with such courage and such dignity. So, this kind of life that Christ had, you don't have to go through. He has done for us. Your life will be very, very safe and peaceful and joyous.
I'm amazed how they can read so much into her. It's because for them also she's the guru. And they're watching every movement of her face, so they have understood her completely. And I think the main thing is that she has been able to transform a person, to run away from that ego and get into connection with the consciousness of Param Chaitanya. So from that point you go backwards, that when that happens, what happens to a person?
Her desire is the emancipation of humanity. that they should be connected to the divine, that they should have joy in their lives, that they should be able to be collectively conscious and understand vibrations from each other. She knows that it's not easy, it's going to take time. It depends on the power of the desire of each individual.
It's not a battle for the world, it's a battle for myself. If I can work it out in myself, it doesn't change the world, it changes myself, so I have my first win. But if we all do it, then eventually we get an impact on society.
Each person has their own story. Each life is different. Many people have never met her physically and who may never end up meeting her now. But they are transformed and their lives have been so affected. So many of them.
I'm sure, as a mother, I'm not so bad. But as a father, I think I lack some things. Please try to come up so that I should feel that I did not lack in my fatherly attitude towards you. When we were fighting for our freedom, all of us were removed from schools because we were in the missionary school and the missionaries believed that Christ was born in England. But we were such proud children, very proud. And now when you have got the freedom of your spirit, you must seek the comfort of your spirit. One has to bear the pangs. I don't mind because it is my life, my mission, my existence, my everything is for the purpose of emancipation of humanity. Even the last drop of my blood is for that. So my satisfactions are very different. If I could do it alone, I would have done it, but I cannot. It's only through you I have to do it.
I must say that CP has tolerated my lots of nonsense of being very generous and all that. But somehow he is tolerated.
Not tolerated, it has been absolutely wonderful. It continues to be that. She has been doing this now for many, many, many years. So I don't agree that I have tolerated her. On the contrary, it is she who has tolerated a bureaucrat in her life.
Permanent headache. So all these ideas about religion and God and all that must be again reformed. There's no need to ring the bells or anything. Bells have to be inside. May God bless you.